All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into some really crucial stuff. The paperwork that actually takes a design from a drawing on a page to a real-life standing building. We're going to look at all those key documents you'll be dealing with day in and day out during construction administration. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's think about it like a game. The bidding documents, that's your rulebook. Everyone studies it, agrees to it, before a single player steps onto the field. But the construction administration documents, and that's our focus today, that's how you actually play the game. It's how you make the moves, call the plays, and maybe most importantly, keep score.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the rulebook, the pre-construction stuff. Then we'll get into tracking the money, verifying all the little details, managing changes and questions that pop up, and finally, how we finish the game.
All right, first up, the rulebook, those pre-construction documents. This is all about laying the foundation for the project, making sure everyone is on the exact same page before a single shovel hits the ground. So what are bidding documents? Well, think of it as the complete info dump you send out to contractors who might want the job. It's got everything they need to figure out how much it's going to cost to build your design. The drawings, for sure, but also the project manual, which is just as critical. And that brings us to the specifications, or specs, as you'll hear all the time. This is super important. If the drawings show you where everything goes, the specs tell you what everything is. I mean, we're talking about the nitty-gritty written rules for everything from the exact type of paint to how well the HVAC system needs to perform. You just can't get that level of detail in a drawing. And the last piece of our rulebook puzzle is the schedule of values. Honestly, you can just think of this as the project's financial roadmap. The contractor takes the total price and breaks it down, piece by piece, assigning a dollar value to each part of the job. And this isn't just a suggestion. This document gets agreed on up front and becomes the absolute bedrock for every single payment request later on. Okay, the rules are set, the teams are ready, now the game is on. It's time to start tracking the money. This part is all about how the contractor gets paid for the work they do, and more importantly, our job as the architect to act as the impartial referee in that whole process. So every month, like clockwork, the contractor will send in an application for payment, or what everyone just calls a pay app. It's basically their monthly invoice. And what's it based on? You guessed it, that schedule of values we just talked about. They use it to show, hey, we've done this much work, and here's what you owe us for it. And this is where we, as the architect, really earn our keep. We can't just rubber stamp this thing. Our job is to put on our detective hat. First, we check the pay app against that schedule of values. Then, and this is key, we go to this site and see with our own eyes if the work they're billing for is actually done. Only then do we certify the payment for the owner. We're the trusted, impartial party here. And hey, a little pro tip for you. Always keep an eye out for front loading. That's when a contractor tries to bill for more work up front than they've actually done, just to help their own cash flow. It's a classic red flag. Okay, money is one thing, but a project is really about the stuff it's made of, right? It's all about getting the physical details perfect. So now we're going to shift gears from the general rules we saw in the specs to approving the specific game pieces, the actual materials and equipment that are going to make up this building. And how do we do that? Through a process called submittals. It's pretty straightforward. The contractor sends us information on the exact products they want to install, and our job is to review it all to make sure it lines up with our design. Then we give it a stamp, something like no exceptions taken, which is great, revise and resubmit, or sometimes just rejected. Every one of those actions creates a paper trail, a formal record of what got the green light. Now, these submittals usually fall into three main buckets. You've got product data, that's the technical spec sheet from the manufacturer. Then you have samples, which are exactly what they sound like, a physical piece of the brick or a swatch of the paint color so you can see and feel it. And finally, you have shop drawings, which are super detailed drawings from the contractor showing exactly how they plan to build and install something complex like custom cabinets or a steel staircase. And here's where it all clicks into place. This is the perfect example of going from rule to reality. The spec might just say something general, like provide high-efficiency interior lighting. That's the rule. But the approved submittal, that's the reality. It says, approved. We are installing this exact Lithonia model. See? That submittal process is what guarantees the vision in your head actually gets built on site. So let's be real. No project, no game ever goes perfectly according to plan. It just doesn't happen. Questions are going to pop up, changes will be needed, and we've got a whole system of documents specifically for handling all those curveballs, from tiny clarifications to major changes in the game plan. The main tool for this is the Request for Information, or RFI. Whenever the contractor is on site and finds something that's confusing or maybe even contradictory in the drawings, they send us an RFI. It's the formal, official way to ask a question and get a formal, official answer. And for us, the challenge is to answer that question so clearly that we solve the problem, not create a new one. Okay, this next point is absolutely crucial. You have to know when a change is happening. If you change the rulebook before the game starts, that is, before the contract is signed, that's called an addendum. But if you change things during the game, after the contract is signed, that's a change order. And a changeover almost always means a change in cost or time. Now, there is a third option. For really minor tweaks that don't affect cost or schedule, we can issue what's called an Architect's Supplemental Instruction, or an ASI. And you can totally see how these things domino into each other. It often starts with a simple RFI from the contractor asking for clarification. We, the architect, provide an answer. But, that answer reveals that something needs to change in a way that's going to cost more money or take more time. Well, that's the moment it escalates, and you have to create a formal change order that everyone, owner, architect, and contractor, has to sign. So we've played the game, we've kept score, we've handled all the unexpected plays. Now it's the fourth quarter, and we're heading for the final whistle. This last stage is called Project Closeout, and it has its own set of documents and official steps to wrap things up and hand the keys over to the owner. This single biggest milestone here is called substantial completion. Now listen, this does not mean the project is 100% perfect. What it means is that the building is safe and functional enough for the owner to move in and start using it for its intended purpose. And as we get to this point, we'll do a walkthrough with the contractor and create something called a punch list, which is just a to-do list of all the minor little fixes and touch-ups that still need to get done. And this is the piece of paper that makes it all official, the Certificate of Substantial Completion. We prepare this document, and it does a few really important things. It sets the official date of completion, which stops the clock on the construction schedule. It also kicks off all the warranty periods for equipment and materials. And critically, it's the moment when responsibility for things like insurance and utility bills shifts from the contractor over to the owner. So when you boil it all down, you realize that getting good at this stuff isn't just about being a paper pusher. Far from it. Good documentation is good risk management. It's the foundation for clear communication. It creates a bulletproof record of every decision, every approval, and every change. And that, my friends, is the absolute best way to keep yourself, the owner, and the contractor out of messy disputes. So, we've walked through the whole system, right? From the specs and drawings all the way to pay apps and change orders, you can see how they all lock together. But that leaves me with one last question for you to chew on. If you had to pick just one, what do you think is the single most powerful document for keeping a project running smoothly and preventing arguments? It's a tough one to answer. Thanks for watching.